Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Red Sea podcast. Welcome back to a weirdly cold day for Greece, as most of us have been freezing despite the necessary lucky charm of the show being worn like normal. And welcome to a positive day in general as we sit right where we belong. That's right, on top ahead of some games very important, some games very season defining. I think that's the safest thing to call them. And thankfully, I'm not here to talk about them alone. How are you, man? Been a minute.
Yeah, no, good to be back. Glad I was able to carve a little bit of time out today. And like you said, nothing but good conversations, thankfully.
Yeah, good, calm, very straightforward stuff, which is a rarity for Olympiacos in general. And yeah, getting into it, mostly the main thing to say is what you said to set you up for your main point as well, is that we're finally, at least, seemingly handling these games as we should. While, yeah, there can still be a conversation, there can still be some complaining about missed chances, about some mistakes, some miscommunication, some lack of concentration here and there. It was just a straightforward win against a team that's lower table at best. And I think that's what it needed to be. I used a quote for the basketball team and use it here as well. Some games just need to boost momentum, nothing else. And ahead of a schedule like the one we have, of course, we have PAOK, then we have Leverkusen immediately due to the Joker right being used with Asteras. And then we have Ike, if I'm not mistaken. And then I think we go on to play the Cup again.
I think it's Ajax and Leverkusen back-to-back weeks, is it not?
Oh, it's Champions League and then it's Ike and the Cup? That would make more sense.
Let me look. I'm pretty sure
thinking about
it. Both of those matches back-to-back. Yeah.
So
Tuesday the 28th, we play Leverkusen, and then Wednesday the 28th, we play Ajax. We have Volos.
No league. We have Volos in between, yeah. I mean, it's a similar point. We have Leverkusen, then we go on to just score 5 against Volos like usual. Then we play our cards and see what happens in the Champions League. Then we have a derby, and then we have the Cup. I mean, you play half your season in a month. You need these games as momentum boosters, and you need everyone to play, which also we thankfully saw, which of course you're probably immediately going to get into, but with the starting 11 as well, very, very happy with the choices given the opponent.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that we hit on a lot last season, and like you just said, like, you know, the season really is decided in this month. It usually is January for a club like Olympiacos because you have Europe going on, and obviously it's when the league schedule starts to come thick and fast with the cup as well. So it was the best way to start the year, especially after how we finished. I mean, we finished 2025 on probably the worst possible note, barring a loss at home to Kifisia. But it was a good way to start. It was a good way to rebound, and I think it speaks to, you know, a lot of what we've been talking about this season, and, you know, the squad being what it is. You know, compared to last year, these are the games that we struggled with, and that's because we were having to rely on the Veldes of the world and the Palmas of the world to drive us forward. And now, fortunately, as we're going to talk about, I mean, we have so much quality in the squad, even when you take out Ayub El-Kabi, even when you have injuries that are keeping guys out, like, you know, Lorenzo Pirola, you still have another guy who can step up in that role and, you know, a player that will probably start for us most of the season. So it was the best possible start, and I think it sets us up well to hopefully be able to take this month by the neck. And again, we have 2 finals coming up in the Champions League. I think being able to start off well in the league, hopefully we get a positive performance on Wednesday. I mean, that's just going to build momentum and morale, and hopefully carry us through those really important matches.
Another thing to formally announce as well, because I completely forgot. I am going to be at the game on Wednesday, so do expect a vlog of some sorts. Hopefully we have a good game. Hopefully we see an actual proper cup tie and not just boring 0-0 and penalty, but we'll see. Speaking of quality and depth, I think there is no better man to start with. Yusuf Yazici, who played around 65 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, and a man that shockingly didn't get any actual contributions, but a man that changed the entire game. You saw chances from minute 1. You saw Atromitos completely failing to stand back. You saw a team finally realizing that we have players to break that low block, to break that congested defense that forces us out wide and crossing and so on and so forth. And as I said, opening up could have been worse. Like, the man himself could have at least an assist or a goal to his name. And despite him not getting a chance to add to his very impressive contribution already, you're seeing what he can do. And again, I've talked about the deliberate point of view a lot of times, and I understand it. I really understand it. That's why I've not said he should play, he should start in the derbies and stuff. But it's a bit of a point proven in why can't he start all of these games? Like Panathinaikos and lower in the table, except from Aris, who, given how the last game went, you can still make a point, but that's not the case and point. I don't see a reason why people like Chiquinho, people like Danny, or whoever is needed to rest, shouldn't rest. And Yazici shouldn't start in these games. I don't see a reason for that. He's the perfect fit to break these teams, and he proved that. He simply proved that.
Yeah, I mean, I said it during the game. I mean, he's such an incredibly important piece for Olympiacos. Really, it's a type of player that we haven't had since Fortunis left, and that's that playmaker that'll sit in the middle, will drift out wide. But I mean, again, I feel like it almost comes to a point where I think a player like Chiquinho, for example, who has all of the technique and the playmaking ability, but his ability to move and like be mobile and get behind defenses at times as well is almost wasted on some of these teams that just want to sit back, where you are benefited from having a player like Yazici, like we'll talk about with Taremi as well, that yeah, they're not going to beat anybody in a one-on-one, but their strength lies in being able to see space that isn't there yet. And that's one of the things that, I think makes him really valuable. It's like, yeah, you don't need him to beat his guy because they're going to pack 10 guys behind the ball. You need somebody who's going to be able to pick out a pass or put pressure on the defense where they're not expecting it. And that opens up opportunities for other players. And like you said, even though he didn't get on the score sheet with an assist or a goal, he was creating space and opportunities that was, giving other people the opportunity to score. So, I think that, like you said, he should start all of those games where you have a team that sits in a low block, because you need that. And I think, honestly, I think he should have more of a role in the team just in general. There's been a lot of noise and a lot of speculation around him really the past several months about him potentially leaving. Honestly, I think that would be a major misstep by Olympiacos. I think he's an incredibly important player, not only with his play, but also the fact, again, he's shown a lot of character strength to come back from the injury that he had and the situation that he picked it up. And the fact that he seems like he has embraced, a very reduced squad rule compared to his ability. So he's a guy, again, you and I have both really sung his praises this season and will continue to do so. And I really hope that these performances and the fact that he's been consistent in them will hopefully show Mendilibar that, hey, this is a guy that I have to involve going forward. Because, whether it's these games and whether it's derbies as well, I mean, he offers something that I don't think anyone else in the squad can, just in his vision and his ability. And again, I liken it to Fortunis because, he brought a similar quality. He was a bit more dynamic, but similar sort of player in the sense that, he's not going to beat you up and down the field, but that guy can see space and he can pick out a pass like very few players can, as well as being able to snipe from outside of the box like we've already seen this season as well. So really encouraged by him, and I hope that his role in the squad continues to grow.
I mean, I've said it and I firmly believe it, of course. If, good help, if we make it through to the knockout stages, I think he gets in like almost immediately. And I think even Mendilibar will see that it's more worth it to take a risk with someone like Yazici despite his lack of pressing, because let's be honest, that's the main reason why his role has been so reduced, because he doesn't play Mendilibar football. But the things that he does bring, which, as you said, no one in the squad really does. The only one I would make a case for, as you said, it's not Chiquinho due to the extreme quality on both, but different styles. The only one I would make a case for is Danny on his day, Danny Podence. Similar, not exactly the same, but similar due to the body type as well. I mean, Danny is like 155, I don't even remember. But even if his role were to stay the same, which would be both a mistake and a great injustice towards Yusuf Yazici, and I don't think it will. I've said it ever since the start. I've said it to you. I've said it here. I think given second half of the season, he gets a bigger role. But thankfully for us, he seems to love it here. He seems to love playing for the fans. He seems to love the equal amounts of appreciation the fans show to him. He seems to love Mendilibar, his teammates, the country, and everything. That shows me that he's staying no matter what. But he definitely deserves a bigger role. Now, speaking of someone that did get on the score sheet and that has a style per se that once again no one has in the team. And speaking of someone I've been a very harsh critic of, perhaps too harsh sometimes, that's of course Mehdi Taremi. Taremi went through a bad run of games. As soon as Ayub El Gabi left, Taremi got trusted with the starting role. I will still stand on the ground that Taremi performs better for us from the bench, because I believe Taremi, with the vision he has, the football IQ he has, kills an exhausted defense, especially in the league. But he showed that he can do it as a starter. He showed that, of course, he has the talent, but he can still keep up with the pace needed to be a starting striker. And having a player to keep up with said pace, to be able to play as a striker, and when Ayub comes back, to be able to fall back again as well, if needed, and play as that second striker /10/ whatever he was getting used at, and still perform similarly, if not even better, is a necessity to the squad. Is a necessity to the squad, and is a necessity to the schedule ahead. Because as things are going, Morocco's winning the whole thing, as it seems, so we won't have Ayub back for a minute. So we need Taremi at his best. And thankfully, if the Atromitos game isn't exactly a measuring point, he for sure got some confidence back, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this was the reason we brought Taremi in, and I think it's why he bought into what we had to offer instead of going to a club like like an Inter or one of these big clubs in a big league that's not going to really give him much of a squad role. I mean, he came to Olympiacos because he could step up and fill in for Ayub or give Ayub a rest if he's been playing a lot of games and continue to be a big piece off the bench. Similar to Yazici, I mean, he's not necessarily a Mendilibar player in the sense that he's not going to be up, winning a high press, and he's not going to be, covering every blade of grass like a lot of other players do. But like we were talking about with Yazici, I mean, to a degree, I think it is very important to have players that vary in style. And I think when we've seen Mendilibar struggle, it's when we've had one game plan and that's it. And when that doesn't work against a certain opponent, we've seen the results of that before. I mean, he just this season got his first ever win against Asteras. I mean, what does that tell you? So I think that he's really important for us, and I do think that he has been growing into the role, like you said. I mean, he has had his struggles. I think it was a struggle for him when he had to first step up and be a starter with Ayub out because he was so used to coming off the bench. But I think he has been picking it up, and I think one of the things that does go underrated about him. I know, like we were just talking about, he's not the quickest guy. He's not necessarily the most athletic, but he can show that he can go the distance and play significant minutes for us. I mean, he played well in the extra time in the Super Cup final. I mean, it's not like he's gonna, fall dead on his feet at 70 minutes. So I think that's really important as well. But having a player of his quality, again, like with Yazici coming off the bench or being able to be a starter when somebody's out, this is the big difference between Olympiacos this season and previous years, even last season. I mean, that was our biggest issue last year is once your starters go out, you have nobody. I mean, we have a bunch of guys on the bench who come off and barely look like footballers. So, I mean, he's been a breath of fresh air, in my opinion. And I do think as well, similar to, Yazici, he has shown very good mentality. Obviously, again, a guy who could start for a lot of teams. Hasn't come in and really shown any ego. When he gets his opportunities, he takes them. So I think that's really important. And I think he does deserve praise for that. Despite some of the struggles, I mean, he's growing into it. Similarly to, Yaremchuk last season, he didn't do as well his first real run in with the team, but he gained momentum, and I think that's important. So while it's been difficult not having some of our guys recently, it is a blessing in disguise as well, because then you're giving opportunities to other players. And then once we get to the business end of the season, like last season with Yaremchuk, you're going to have all these guys in form, and they're going to be in stride, and it's going to be seamless. So like you said, really impressed by what he's shown and some of the resilience he's shown. And it's just such a blessing for us to have these quality options that don't necessarily have to live in the starting lineup week in and week out.
I mean, especially with that front three, excluding Yazici for a bit. We've said it from the beginning of the season that this front three is going to be terrifying by league standards. And even Yaremchuk has gotten, 2 starts this season, if even, and he still has 2 goals. You're having Roman Yaremchuk play minimal minutes. That alone shows enough for the depth of this team.
And he would start for any other team in Greece by an absolute line.
It's not close. It's not close. Now, speaking of someone that's gotten extreme criticism, speaking of one of the scapegoats of the team, that I am glad is still proving people very wrong very quickly, it's this man that had one of his random Super League masterclass games that he has twice every 3 weeks. I mean, is there anything to say about Zelson? the game he had. Okay, the goal was what it was. The goal was half time. That doesn't change. But except from that goddamn very Strefezza-like run that he completely whiffed, which is something that comes with the package, to say it as plainly as possible. The effect a good Zelson has on this team is unbelievable and also very unpredictable. Okay? What annoys me, though, a bit, is because you're looking at a Zelson that up until the summer was our second most productive player behind the Jubel Kabi. And now that this season he is having more of an off-ball effect to the team. His runs, his overlap, his key passes, the pass to assist ratio that he has. Those aren't main stats and people don't see that. And people calling for his non-renewal. Of course, Zelson's situation is that he had a +1 that got activated automatically, and we're trying to lock him down until 2028. There is just a bit of a gap, which I'm sure will get solved in no time. It's not like other renewals need to happen that terrify me that they haven't happened yet. But until AFCON's over, I'm going to go insane on that subject, but that's a different story. The idea that Greek fans have, because this is specific to this goddamn country, and again, I'm putting myself in it as well, because sometimes I fall into the trap of the stats show the game. Off-ball effect is a thing, especially with wingers like Zelson. And people need to realize that Zelson, yeah, he had a bad start, he had a slow start. But ever since he picked it up, Zelson has been one of the main reasons we're getting the results we're getting, especially the close ones. And without meaning any disrespect to Danny Podence, because the workload he's taken, he shouldn't be taking this workload right now. And that's what's led to the injury now, which who knows how long he'll be out for. Which again, blessing and a curse, because you're good in the league, but the Champions League games, especially Leverkusen, which I think he's gonna miss, without Danny sound a bit scary to me, but that's a talk we'll get into in a bit. With no disrespect meant to Dan Podence, Zelson has been your best winger this season, and it's not close.
Yeah, and I mean, I think one of the things with Zelson too is he might not score a ton or assist a ton, but when he does, it's very timely. I mean, you look at some of the goals he scored this season. I mean, you could make the case that Zelson Martins is the only reason Olympiacos has any chance in the Champions League right now. He has 4 of our 5 points to his name almost exclusively. And you saw it again this weekend, stepping out again, like you said, we have injuries, we have players out. He is fine being in the background when that's the best way to help us win, but he can step up and he can be a conduit role for us. And he can be one of those guys that's pushing us forward and is getting involved in scoring. So I think, like you said, people do tend to get very reactionary and they do tend to watch, the stat sheet a lot. But, we don't play football on paper. It's played on a pitch and we watch it with our eyes. And he's definitely, I think in my opinion, this has been his best season for Olympiacos. Not his highest scoring, I would say it. I mean, again, to me, the biggest thing is when he's scoring and when he's getting us results. And to me this year, he's been one of a couple players who I think has been absolutely indispensable to us. Just looking back on, games won or games lost without him. So I continue to be really impressed with him. And I think it says a lot about a player, especially a player like him who comes from pedigree, who's played in a top 5 league, that he's willing to, again, accept that role, similar to Taremi, similar to Yazici, where he's not necessarily the main guy, but he has the quality. We all know he has the quality, and when we need someone to step up, he can and he will. So I think that just continues to hammer the point home. And that's why this Olympiacos team over the past few years under Mendilibar has been able to achieve what it has, because you're getting buy-in from these guys that could very easily turn their nose up at whatever they're asked to do, but they don't do that. It's just, we're going to go out and do our job. Doesn't matter what that looks like. At the end of the day, if we're winning, that's what matters. And he's contributed very heavily to winning football this season. Almost as much as anybody on this team.
It's up there. It's for sure up there. I'm just still debating on if this is his best one or the first season. I'm still very 50-50 on that, but it's for sure way up there, more than people give him credit for. And because I know you need to leave in like 5 minutes, we got into it a bit, but the next few games are, of course, season defining. But I think the eyes are on the Leverkusen game and the Ajax game. Realistically, with the people we have available, with what you just said about Mendilibar, because ultimately it falls on him mostly. I think, and I am confident in saying it, I think we'll sneak in. I just don't know if it will be fully because of us. Because in my original predictions, I said we'll beat Ajax, and I'm standing on that. I think we'll go to the Netherlands and beat Ajax, especially this Ajax. That's been god-awful this season.
They've been better recently.
Yeah, but
if you're so nervous, go look at their recent matches.
I have. I'm still really. We're talking about a very inconsistent team that, even quality-wise, I think is still worse than us. Now, Leverkusen. We're talking about a team that's not necessarily better, especially given the game is at home, but that's very unpredictable. And usually for Olympiacos, that's the worst case scenario. Because you have a team that killed Manchester City, and you have a team that just ate 4 to Stuttgart. So what do you think will happen?
Like you said, I think we will just sneak in. A lot of what I've seen, it seems like even 8 points this season, given how tight the bottom of the standings have been. 8 points will probably be enough unless we absolutely get destroyed in one of these games. I think I'm actually going to go with the opposite prediction you have. I think we'll beat Leverkusen. I wouldn't be surprised if we beat Leverkusen 2 or 3-0. I think we're going to lose to Ajax. I think we're going to lose to an Ajax team that has nothing to play for, because that is the most Olympiacos thing I can ever imagine. But I do think if we win one of these 2 games, I strongly do believe we will get in. But, I mean, like you said, we have to treat both of them like a final. I think it's something where that game between where we play Bolos, I mean, play all of the U17s. I don't care who you play. You
play the B team.
Pull someone off the street outside of Karaiskakis and let them have their one-day run out to live their dreams as Olympiacos. But I don't care. We could lose that game 10-0. I do not care. Rest everybody. Go to Ajax with as strong of a squad as we can field it and try to get a win or even a point. I mean, a point would be huge in that game if we're coming out for a win.
That's what I wanted to say. I'm not saying we'll lose to Leverkusen. I am going for a draw and a win. Just don't with how you presented it now. I don't know which is gonna be which.
That's the more logical prediction. I'm just going off of what I've seen in the past, and I just fully expect us to do something really stupid in that Ajax game. But hopefully I'm wrong. This team, like you said, I mean, is more than good enough to beat Ajax, is more than good enough to beat Leverkusen. That's the other thing for Leverkusen as well that will be a benefit for us is they're coming off of like a month off, which is probably part of the reason why they just got destroyed by Stuttgart. So you hope and pray that they'll be still trying to find their form again after that long break. But like you said, I mean, we have every chance. It comes down to Mendilibar and how he prepares and the way that he strategizes the squad rotation. I think that's going to be the biggest thing.
Yeah, exactly like you said. And I think that's all we have for the main part. I don't think we really need to focus on anything else. On the men's side, I don't know if you wanna bail. I don't know if you wanna wait. I don't know if you can wait.
Yeah, no, I have like a minute, so I'll have to hop on.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll see it out. Of course. Thanks for joining me, man.
Yeah, sure.
And hopefully we make Wednesday work.
Yeah,
hopefully.
If we can get 2 in a week, that would be great. But
yeah, for sure.
See you guys around.
Now, I won't give you all for much longer. I just want to focus on this because God, are these girls insane. Of course, for those of you that haven't been following, Olympiacos' women's team has been killing it in the Gamma Ethnique. They've been absolutely destroying. We're talking about a team that's gone 70-0 in goals. We're talking about a team full of talent, a team that's going to be together until they are in the Alpha Ethnique easily. I don't think there's any doubting that. And especially, all the girls deserve credit. But speaking from the goals, I want to mention 2 names. That's Naya Benjamin, and that's Yanu. The 2 girls that have 60% of the team's goals. Benjamin with 23 to her name, and Yanu with 14. Of course, Naya Benjamin was an AEK player, won the double with them last season, and came over to join Olympiacos, came over to help history be made, and she's making history herself. And I'm sure we'll see this girl grow with Olympiacos. I'm sure we'll see her lead us to greatness we can't even comprehend. And as for Yano, of course, was playing in America, playing and coaching in Ohio. What's there left to say for these girls? It's unbelievable, and we can't wait to see them where they deserve to be, where they've earned to be, and where they belong with their talent and hard work. And that's about it from me as well. That's about it for another one. I hope you all enjoyed. As I said, I will be at the PAOK game on Wednesday. So do expect a vlog on either Thursday or Friday. That's going to be made as best and as fast as possible, as always. Next show is going to be Wednesday night, covering said cup game. Hopefully with Gav once again. And then probably Thursday morning, if my voice is okay, I'm going to sit down, rewatch the Partizan game, because I'm probably only going to be able to catch the second half, and do a show for that as well. do expect a lot of things this week, big week, and do expect a lot of things moving forward as well. Some interviews coming up that I need to finalize details on, but I'm very excited about. So RSC coming back, the Red Sea Chronicles, and hopefully some even bigger things soon as well. The support is insane, support is unbelievable, and I couldn't be more grateful. See you on the next one. Thank you.